Sometimes the most painful relationships are not with the bad men. They are with men who are kind, caring, and genuinely love you, but still haven't grown up emotionally. They may not cheat, they may not lie, they may remember your birthday, hold your hand, and tell you he loves you. And yet you feel exhausted, you feel unseen, you feel like you're carrying the entire relationship by your own. And the hardest truth is this: he's not necessarily a bad person. He just hasn't developed the emotional capacity to sustain an adult relationship. And no matter how much you love someone, you cannot build a mature relationship with someone who is still emotionally a child. The first sign of emotional immaturity is this: he cannot handle conflict. Adult relationship is not a relationship without argument. They are relationships where two people willing to stay present when things become uncomfortable. But emotionally immature men almost always respond to conflict the same way. They run. You want to talk? They shut down. You want to solve the problem? They disappear. You express hurt? Changing the subject. You ask to be seen? They pretend not to notice. What he calls needing space is often not emotional wisdom, it's emotional avoidance. And what he calls I don't want to argue is often not peace, it's an inability to tolerate discomfort. So while you are trying to repair the relationship, he is trying to act as if nothing happened. And unsolved problems do not disappear. They accumulate. One silent treatment, one avoided conversation, one unmet need after another, and eventually you realize that in this relationship, you were the only one doing the emotional labor. You were the only one doing the responsibility, and you were the only one carrying the weight of the connection. The second sign is emotional irresponsibility. Emotional mature people understand that their feelings are their responsibility, but emotionally immature people often expect others to observe whatever they cannot regulate. When he is stressed, the whole relationship becomes tense. When he is overwhelmed, you start walking on eggshells. When he withdraws, you are left in guessing what went wrong, and somehow without ever agreeing of it, you become responsible for restoring his emotional balance. You become his therapist, his emotional caretaker, his safe place. But he doesn't become yours. That is not partnership. That's emotional parenthood. And eventually, no matter how much you love him, you start feeling more like his mother than his partner. The third sign is selective responsibility. He may be highly responsible at work, reliable with friends, competent in business, but when it comes to the relationship, he forgets promises, avoids accountability, and finds excuse instead of solution. Because responsibility is easy when it protects his image, responsibility becomes much harder when it requires humility and making mistakes, making sacrifice, or comforting his own limitations. And if someone cannot take responsibility for how they affect you, they cannot create emotional safety. The fourth sign is a need for unconditional loyalty. Emotionally immature men often don't want a partner. They want someone who will always validate them, always side with them, always telling them that they are right. The moment you're offering a different perspective, they experience it as a betrayal, because beneath that, defensiveness is often profound insecurity. They cannot tolerate being wrong. They cannot face their own shortcomings. So they rely on you to unconditional support, to hold together a fragile sense of self. And over time, you stop being equal. You become an emotional support system, a constant source of validation. A mirror that is only allowed. Reflect back admiration. The fifth sign is the need of creating emotional chaos. Healthy love feels calm, steady, predictable, safe. But emotionally immature people often feel uncomfortable in stability. Peace feels boring, consistency feels unfamiliar, and emotional intensity become their way of feeling connected. So just when things start to feel settled, they create distance, conflict, mixed signals, or emotional withdrawal without realizing it. They use instability to test whether you still care, and you end up with trapped in a cycle of hope and disappointment, always waiting for the next emotional storm. Here is the truth that changes everything. You do not have to stay or help someone to grow up. You can love someone deeply. They are not capable of loving you in the way you need. You can understand their wounds without making them your responsibility. You can become compassionate without sacrificing your own emotional health. Because emotional immaturity is not necessarily cruelty, but is still costly. And if you stay too long, you may lose years trying to build in the future with someone who is not yet ready to build one with you. The right partner will not require you to shrink, to over-explain, to endlessly wait, or to carry the emotional burden along. The right partner will be emotionally available, willing to communicate, able to self-reflect, and mature enough to take the responsibility of their part in the relationship. Healthy love feels lighter, not because it's effortless, but because two adults are sharing the weight. So, if you are in a relationship where he seems like a good man, but you feel constantly drained, confused, and emotionally alone. Please hear me clearly. You are not asking for too much. You are asking the wrong person. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is stop to waiting someone to become the partner you need and choose yourself instead.